I coached high school, I chaperoned international trips, so I was always with kids. I worked at a women's abuse shelter, so I worked with clients that use substances sometimes to avoid some of the pain in their lives. I worked in a homeless shelter, I was volunteer coordinator, so I worked with people that sometimes use substances to avoid some of the problems in their lives. On the youth aid panel, on the student assistance team, I wrote a book, so I went on tour speaking about that. I went to college later in life, so I was sitting next to kids in my classes that were using. I'm the daughter of an abusive alcoholic. First, I want to say something that's really important to me, that is, good kids make bad choices. And I can't stress that enough, and sometimes it only takes one choice, and that's it. Okay, there's no stereotypes to kids that are using. In fact, I work at Upper Kirk High School a lot as their school nurse, and I sub. I just went on the junior class trip, and we went to Washington. We had a great time. But, so I'm still in the schools. Getting behavior, lack of self-esteem, flipping out for no apparent reason, inappropriate verbal responses, inappropriate giggle or laughing, disorientation of time and space, depression, defensiveness, grades dropping, skipping classes, getting into trouble, quitting sports and activity they used to love and now they want nothing to do with it, no respect for people or the possession of others, physical appearance is probably changing, sloppy dress, their hygiene has changed, change in friends, as if you don't even know where some of these characters came from. They have what I call a secret life. There's a breakdown of family communications and relationships. If they're working, there's a poor job performance, memory problems, demand for privacy, locking doors, don't touch my book bag, don't go in my car, don't go in my bureau, don't go in my room. Difficulty in getting up in the morning, and yet they want to sleep all day long. They have what I call this motel existence. It seems to be that this child you once knew and loved has turned into a different person, and there's like this alien standing in front of you. Testing rules, limits, curfews, lies. Lies are beginning, even if they're just white lies. Secretive, suspicious behavior, dishonesty. Possibly they're becoming abusive, or verbally, or emotionally, or maybe even in worse ways. Missing school, and they ask you to write a note, write an excuse, and you can't quite figure out why you're writing this note out and something doesn't feel right. In a two-parent household, they can only get along with one parent at a time, and that's important because the parent that is starting to ask questions is the parent that's definitely pushed out of the bubble. Okay? The parent that's oblivious is still out a little bit on the inside. No talk of the future, and that's a scary one. Things might be missing from your home, or things are found in the wrong place where they don't belong. We love our kids. I mean, we want to believe them. Okay? If they're using and their lips are moving, they're lying. Kids can be polite and ingratiating. I had one mom in my parent support group that told me that, oh, Dad, my son helped me with the dishes, he helped make his bed, he was really cool, and I thought, this is great, and then I found out he was high the whole time he was doing it, sadly. They can stay stoned at such a level that now they're maintaining, so now you've lost track of what normal really looks like. They can act dumb. They can make excuses for drug and alcohol-induced behavior, food allergies, or, you know, my contacts are bothering me, and their eyes are bloodshot, and they're pouring the drops in as the school nurse is watching him, and I'm looking in his eye, and I say, you don't have contacts in right now. Become a fast talker. Best defense is a good offense. Okay, there's 3 levels of using, as we say in the field. Level 1, which is experimenting and dabbling. Your parents have a party, they leave the glasses there, you know, you take a couple shots of what's left there, you know, you take a couple, you know, totes of their cigarette or something, and you start little bits at a time like that. Then there's the misuse. Now there's more regular use to this pattern, okay? The key is how often, and also where can we get it? You know, now they're listening to their peers. You become less important in their life, and their friends and their peers are more influential in their life. Level 3, that's the days of early abuse. Now they have a daily preoccupation. When's my mom going to be out? When am I going to have the car? My friend's parents are away. When do I get my allowance? Da-da-da-da. And he's thinking in class, not what the teacher's saying. He's thinking when he can hook up with this guy, that he can make this connection to get whatever it is he needs. Now they've lost a little bit less control, and they're losing it as a choice. It's no longer becoming a choice. Unfortunately, some kids and some people go on to level 4, which we say is dependency. There's negative personal feelings. They need that drug now. They can no longer think rationally and normally and normal. They think that the high state is their normal. I had one kid say to me, "I'm a much better dancer when I'm high." And the girl next to him went, "No, you're not." Okay. But they become more careless about hiding their drugs and paraphernalia. They get hooked, and there's a rapid deterioration in all phases. Let's focus now on the parents, because I do parent support groups, and I think that a lot of times the parents are having signs and symptoms that they're not associating around this child. Trouble concentrating, trouble staying focused and remembering things. I have dads say, "I'm in a meeting, I don't have a clue what they're talking about, I'm thinking about what happened the night before, trying to figure out what's going on with this kid." Is it easier to deny your feelings and suspicions than actually confront them? Are you better off not knowing, or could it really cost you? Do you feel apprehension, stressed, upset, emotional, concerned, have that feeling of doom, like something's wrong but you can't quite put your finger on it? Remember, the mother knows there's a problem long before she knows what the problem is. Has that dinner table conversation turned into a constant arguing? Has that pitter-patter of little feet turned into foot stomping and door slamming? Do you find yourself maybe needing a drink? Tylenol PM, or maybe something even stronger to get to sleep at night? Do you find yourself not talking about your child or making excuses for his behavior, his appearance, his attitude, or his absence from family functions? Do you suffer from headaches, migraines, depression, feelings of overwhelmed, upset stomach, coughing Pepsid, feeling scared, isolated, or lonely, avoiding friends of highly successful children? How could I not know I'm an involved parent? How could this be happening? My daughter was an honor student. I felt so alone, depressed, and desperate. I didn't want to go out with friends and hear all the good things our kids were doing. I felt so alone and isolated. We do feel that we are very isolated because no one wants to talk about this. I was having migraines a lot. The doctor told me my blood pressure was elevated, asked me if I had any stress at home. I kept telling myself things weren't that bad until my son's third DUI. This was said by one parent who got an equitable loan on her house to get a lawyer to get her son out of a DUI where someone was actually injured in the car with him. You might call that enabling, just saying. Okay, feelings of shame, guilt, regret, shock, disbelief, denial, feeling foolish, feeling guilty, and feeling angry. These are all some of the emotional roller coaster emotions that we go on. Afraid to talk to family and friends and inviting them because they're going to judge you. Or they shut your child out. He feels ostracized, or she feels ostracized. Confidentiality may not be respected, and you can get burned by trusting the wrong people. I think that's where I first learned that if I was in the room in a 12-step meeting environment, that I was safe to talk about things. Okay, so you're all educated. And your child wants to smoke pot, but he knows that you know what it smells like. So he's up in his room and he's thinking, they're right downstairs. I really can't. So what does he do? He has to make his own little bong. So he takes out his hollowed out pen. And he takes the tin foil. So I take the tin foil. Did you ever go into your laundry room and you turn on the faucet and the thing jumps up and down, the pressure's like gushing out of there, and you're like, it wasn't like that yesterday. Okay, unscrew that little screw on the bottom of the faucet and see if the little screen is missing, because you need that little screen to smoke your pot. So then we roll this and we would smoke our pot. But because your mom and dad are downstairs, you go and you get one of these fabric dryer sheets. Took the dryer sheet, stuffed it into the toilet paper roll. He then took a hit and he exhaled through the toilet paper roll. And it now will mask the smell. So you're saying to me, I used to put Downy, so my kid can't do that. It's okay. You go to the dollar store and you buy the cheapest, foulest smelling cologne. You saturate some paper towels, you stuff it in here, and you exhale, and it will do the same thing. It will now mask the smell so that you can get away with it. And these are called snarf tubes. Okay. This is called a lazy cake. Now this is actually, you gotta remember something. If it's an herbal product, it falls through the cracks. Okay, legally. So this lazy cake actually has a warning on it that once you consume this brownie, you should not be driving. I don't really know what's in it, but when it has instructions like that, you kind of want to wonder. This is also herbal marijuana. I got this at Q-Mart, and I said to the guy, what do I do with it? He says, lady, just sprinkle it on your pizza and have a nice night if you don't want to smoke it. said, okay, so this is a lighter, or it's supposed to look like a lighter. Universal lighter fixed into the car just like a normal lighter would. Only it's not, it's a little marijuana bowl. So you take your herbal marijuana and you can smoke it. These are your rolling papers. This is considered paraphernalia. And you will notice on this one that it has the alien sign on it. A lot of drug paraphernalia will have the alien sign on it. Here's another thing that's alien, says take me to your dealer kind of thing. Alcohol. Okay, alcohol. This is my little guy stuck in a bottle. It's what happens when you start drinking. It gets out of control. When somebody comes into rehab and says, I'm doing 440s, I'm doing a couple dime bags, I'm a couple blunts, and so forth and so on, this is what they're talking about. They're talking about 40s. It's 40 ounces of anything. It doesn't have to be this. It just can be 40 ounces. Okay, one of the popular things is to bend down, tape into your hands, and guzzle them both down at the same time. That's a fun trick. This is also Four Loko. Four Loko is not allowed in some states, but it is 12% alcohol, and it's high in sugar, and it just gives it an extra kick right there. If they get a hold of it, they love it. Red Bull's popular. You empty out half the Red Bull, fill it with vodka. Usually vodka's popular because you can't really smell it on someone's breath. And this is a stimulant, so it gives the alcohol just a little bit of an extra kick. Whipped lightning. Okay, that's another thing too. It's the whipped cream that actually has alcohol infused in it. These are gummy bears. The popular thing is you take a Pyrex dish, you put alcohol in there, you put your gummy bears in there, it soaks it up overnight, and it's kind of like doing a real chewy Jell-O shot, which is popular. You find a towel that has a foul smell to it and has a stain on it, you kind of want to wonder what's going on. So all you do, one of the popular ones is you would expel the cream out of this and you would huff the remaining gas. The girls down on Route 1, down in Media there, they took dust or two and they were doing what's called baking the car. They expelled everything into the car, rolled up the windows and made that turn, only they didn't make that turn. They were all killed that night. The next week, this was on sale at Staples, 3 for the price of 2. Pretty sad. Okay. One of the things that's kind of bad to huff is something like Scotch Guard or Pan. And the reason is because it has a toluene chemical. It's an oil-based chemical inside it. When you huff something with this inside it, what it does is immediately coats the lungs. It prevents you from getting enough oxygen. You will become oxygen deprived. You could have brain death, and you can die from drugs. Can come in anything. Don't always think that what you're looking at is what it appears to be. One popular way, you don't see film too much anymore, is to carry it in things like this. Some drugs are photosensitive, so you want to keep them away from the light. You can find a can with a hole in it. I want to wonder. You got to remember things like this. Syringe pen. This is targeted towards young kids. Okay, and it's another type. And one of my friends who actually worked in the field was a drug and alcohol counselor. Her son was home. He came out of rehab. She thought he was doing pretty well. She came home and he took her flashlight, hollowed it out, put the screen in the bottom, and was smoking his pot on the balcony of their apartment. In heroin, there's tar heroin and there's China white heroin. The heroin you're going to see for the most part around here is the China white heroin, which looks like just powdered sugar, if you would see it. The amount of heroin that you get in one of these baggies, and these are all different kind of baggies because I've gotten it from different areas. Some around here, some in Delaware, some in different places, and each dealer has his own color bagging and stamping. But the heroin you get around here, you probably get as much as you would in a sweet and low packet, and it's about $10 a bag. And if you buy like a baker's dozen kind of thing, if you get a bundle, they might throw in an extra bag or two for that price. Heroin is a scary drug because heroin works very quickly. If you snort it, it takes longer. If you skin pump it, it takes longer. But if you mainline it, it takes less than 6 seconds, and you can be dead. And the one night I gave a program in Upper Dublin, and this was a few years back, and there was like a hush in the room, and I said to the officer, like, what's going on? He said, we lost a student last night, hunched over their computer with a needle still in their arm. You might have tiny little bags like this. You might have other bags that are different colors. You might have white ones. And inside the bag, as you can see in this one, is wax paper with the stamping, and it comes in here and you open it up and you dump out the wax paper, and that's usually how you buy it in these little Ziploc baggies. Oxycontin is also a drug that is popular with the kids, and they'll say something like, well, my grandmother broke her hip, and she was taking this when she broke her hip, and I heard about it at school, so I decided I'd take one. They're extremely addictive. And when you think about it, I want you to use this as a point of reference. How many of you ever taken Percocet for a pain, backache, broken bone? How many did you take it one time? One every how many hours? 4. One every 4 to 6 hours, or 2, or whatever. Here's a point of reference. An 80 milligram Oxycontin is equal to 16 Percocets. I have patients that come in that tell me they're doing 1080s a day. That is a huge habit. If you're talking about an Oxycontin on the street being $30 a pill and escalating by $10 every 10 milligrams, you're talking about a big habit. Now, alcoholics tend to under-exaggerate their usage, and addicts tend to over-exaggerate the usage. If I'm doing an admission over here and this guy's doing 10 bags, I can tell you sure and shit that this guy over here comes in, he's doing 12. Okay? So was he really doing 1080s? I don't know, but he had a pretty darn big habit, and it was really hard to detox because the levels were so high. Okay? So, OxyContin is a drug that usually sends them off when they run out of money and can't afford it and have no access to get it anymore. Usually sends them off to the races, because if you're going to pay $30 a pill, you might as well spend $10 and get one bag. And that's part of the problem. Going back to my statement about good kids make bad choices. I had a friend whose son was a really good kid. He went to good college. He came home. He was this all-American kid. He was an athlete. He went to a party. He had a couple beers. He was 21. He had a couple beers, and his friend said, "Here, try this. You know, we're at a party. Here, try this." He said, "What is it?" "Don't worry about it. Just try it." And he tried, and he snorted it. And his heroin was cut with codeine. He was allergic to codeine. He went into anaphylactic shock, and he died. One bad choice. Today, do what's called farming. And when I say farming, I spell it P-H-A-R-M-I-N-G. They will go into your medicine cabinets. They will maybe drink. Drinking and using when you're drunk and high is called crunk. It's called crunk, so you're both at the same time. They will into your medicine cabinet. They will gather up a bunch of stuff. They will put it in a bag. They will pass the bag around, and you will grab stuff, and you will take it out there, and you'll put it in your mouth. Now, we don't know what the combination of drugs are, what the interaction of the drugs are, and we don't know what the peak time of the actions are in the drugs, in addition to mixing with alcohol. Ecstasy is here to stay. It enhances everything. It's like one of my kids in my class, Deb, it's like I can see music and I can hear and feel colors. Because all your senses are absolutely peaked to the point of ecstasy, which is what they get. These are ecstasy cigarettes. Again, these are herbal, so we really don't know what's in them. These are ecstasy tablets, about $40 worth of ecstasy tablets. Again, same thing, they're herbal. One way they get it in is they take the ecstasy tablets, they put them on Pez containers, take the ecstasy, take it, put it on the candy bracelets or necklaces. Bath salts are kind of scary because kids are really, losing their mind with this kind of stuff. Some of the ones that's the slang terms of the ones that are popular now are Ivory Wave, Red Dove, Vanilla Sky, and they actually injure themselves when they're on this kind of stuff. Okay, number one answer, curiosity. Curiosity. So when I used to teach at classes, I used to say to them, okay, I'm going to have you for the next 6 weeks. I'm not foolish enough to think that what I say or do is going to change what you're going to do on Friday or Saturday night. But when you're done with the classes that you have with me, you're going to know if you're going to smoke it, shoot it, snort it, inhale it, drink it, eat it, or whatever you're going to do with it, you're going to find out what it's going to do to your mind, your body, your future, and legally. So we're going to remove that curiosity right now. And I want you to write down 3 questions. Don't put your name down. Put them in the hat at the end of the night, and by the end of the classes, you're going to have them all answered. Nobody knows who asked what. In fact, one night I was at the butcher and I saw this disgusting thing in the cabinet. It was like in the shape of bologna. And I said to the butcher, "What is that?" And he said, "It's called souse." Has anyone heard of it? Okay, it's like bologna with chunks of crap in it. I swear, it was like toenails and jello or whatever was in there. And I looked at it and it looked so disgusting, and I said, "Give me a chunk of that, will you? And give me the label." He said, "Sure." So I was teaching class that night. This is a true story from a good counsel. And I was teaching class that night. I said, oh, kids, I forgot to tell you. I said, I brought a snack tonight. Oh, great. Did you get pizza? And I said, no, something better. So I bring it out and I put it on the plate, and I said, just take a slice off and just take it. Just try it. I'm not trying that. I said, why not? Come on, just try it. Just, put it in your mouth and try it. I don't want to try it. I don't even know what's in it. Exactly my point. So, when parents said to me, I want to go home and put my kid in a bubble, and I felt really bad because I think I scared them, which isn't my intent. This is just reality up here. Here's some of the things that I made up. Okay, what can you do? To listen to what is said and what is not being said. Also look at their body language. It's really important. I have a friend that was a psychologist, used to say, I don't necessarily listen to what they say, I listen to what they leave out, and that's where I zero in. Set a good example, say what you mean and mean what you say, be consistent, be honest. A lot of people have said to me, should I tell my kid I used in college? And I say, well, that's your choice, but I'll tell you one thing. You better be honest with whatever you say, because it's going to come out later anyway. So, okay, if you did use and you're not now, then you learned something. And if you did use and you got help, then you learned something too. So what would you have to gain by lying? Establish limits and boundaries and stick to what's important to you. Don't compromise those. Set clear rules. Say no. When it should be no, remember, no is a complete sentence. That's it. Let your child know there will be consequences for breaking the rules. When I with Billy, because I love you parents support group, we don't tell them the consequence. Because if I say to you, you can't go to that party Friday night, that's it, Dawn, you can't go. And well, what if I go? Well, then I'm going to take your cell phone for a week. And the kid goes, wow, I just got this throwaway phone the other day. I'll go to this party if there's this really hot girl, so I'm going to this party. He already weighed it out. He knows, what it is. Don't tell him what the consequences is, and be creative with the consequences. Follow through. Kids are like tennis, just follow through. Make consequences fit the crime and be realistic. Now, if you say to the kid, if you do that, you're grounded for life. Now, what are the chances of that? Come on, let's be realistic. Okay. Make a curfew, be prepared to negotiate, and realistic sometimes on special occasions. Okay. Be realistic. Have some flexibility. Have the kids check in various times. Don't be afraid to call the other parents to make sure they're going to be home. So-and-so, I'm going to so-and-so's house for a party. Let me give them a call. Have them check in at various times. Also, have it set up whereby if your kid finds that he's at a party or she's at a party and there's stuff going down, give them a friend or a neighbor's phone number and say, Mrs. So-and-so will pick you up, no questions asked. She's not going to interrogate them and give them the third degree like you are, because there's not that emotion of parent-child, and yet they're going to get out and they're going to get home safely. So that's a better idea. Okay. When you're listening to your child, try not to let your jaw drop and your eyes bug out. Talk to your kids about how to handle a situation. I hate the term role play. I mean, if you're a teacher in school and somebody talks about role play, it's like, oh my God, I hate that. But if you do it in the third person and say to your son, like, what do you think Robbie, your friend, would do if this happened? He's probably going to talk because you haven't questioned him and put him on the spot. The next one, trust your instincts. And the next one is to keep your sense of humor. Because if you don't keep your sense of humor, you're going to die a million deaths with every single thing there is.